Hey guys, this is going to be a video about a trap practice board or demonstration board that I made. So here is the outside of the board, and obviously all you got to do is tip the thing up in order to show deadfalls. We're going to start with the Paiute deadfall that I have set up. I did have a little trouble getting the very smooth board to catch the trigger stick, so I put a dab of hot glue on the bottom of the board. It's also a very slippery table. Put a little bit of sandpaper down to keep this from sliding around. The cordage is yucca leaf cord, reverse wrap. Because it's so short, there was only 2 splices needed, which is a lot more convenient than what I usually make. So we're going to go ahead and set this off, show how this one works. We have our target animal come in here, and you would put a piece of bait right up there. You would wedge the bait between the deadfall and the trigger stick. Let me get one good close-up of this toggle just to make sure it's easy to see what's going on. So the toggle is wrapped around the vertical stick, just on a little bit of tension. It goes up and catches by friction. Now it's important that the vertical stick, when you look at it directly sideways, is outside of where the deadfall is going to fall. The reason that's important is you don't want your deadfall to come down, hit the vertical stick, and possibly not crush the prey item. So let's go ahead and give a little wiggle. Falls pretty good. Now, I missed the first 2 times. I'm trying to do this backwards in a video camera, so you'll have to have just a little patience with me. The next deadfall that we're going to do is probably the standard of all deadfalls. That would be the figure 4. So give me just a second, and I will set the figure 4 up. I actually have 2 types of figure 4s, and I think you're going to like the difference. It's a very slight difference, but actually makes a pretty good change in how they work. So here are the parts of a figure 4. Here is the vertical stick. Now I happen to make the flat on both sides of mine. You really don't have to. That's just personal preference. Here is the horizontal stick. Notice you turn this sideways, it fits in against this flat. And this catches here. So that is the basic setup of a figure 4 deadfall, a traditional figure 4. Let's get this set up. I'm only going to take a sec and we will go ahead and show how this one works. So I like to set my figure 4s up just a little different in terms of how I hold it. I've gotten quite a few smash fingers over the years and really do my best to avoid that now. When I'm setting the trap, if at all possible, I try to only hold the back of the trap. Now, sometimes this isn't possible depending on how the weights are balanced and other details of one individual trap compared to another. But in general, this is my way to avoid smash fingers if I can. So, next thing you need to know, this is what's called a left-handed trap. You can see that pulling the bait stick to the left is the easiest, most sensitive way to set this off. From this side, pulling it to the right is going to take quite a bit more force. Now this is a very sensitive trap no matter what. But fine-tuning it can be a little difficult if you're making half a dozen, 10, 12 of them or more. So I'll show you how much pressure it takes to set this off. And we are going to put the pressure in the correct direction. I'm behind the trigger stick. I'm going to tap it to the left. And we're going to drop this deadfall. So that is a standard figure 4. On to the next variation. This is, in my area, the primary indigenous group were the Algonquin, and I found out that their figure 4 was just a little different. You'll notice on the trigger stick, now by the way, all figure 4s, the bait goes here. You would sharpen this, put some bait on, or split it and put bait in the middle. But what's different about this trigger is the notch that goes on the vertical stick and the notch that goes on the diagonal stick are on the same side. That's kind of unusual for a figure 4. Let me set the camera down and try to show why that is. Traditionally, on a figure 4, your notch is turned sideways, and it grabs the side, whoops, get this facing the right way, it grabs the side of the stick. This one doesn't. This notch actually, the friction point is up, in an upward direction. So it is not right or left-handed. I'll get a much better close-up of this in a second. But let me go ahead and set this trap up. I also find this trap is easier to set. And by nature, it is more sensitive, which is just a great combination. So here is the trigger mechanism. The friction point, I'm not sure if you can see this, but it's a straight up and down trigger. Hopefully that shows well. Put the camera back down. And we'll drop this one, just like the rest. It takes only the slightest tap. And there we go. Deadfall has dropped. And that is the third installment on the miniature traps. Those are 3 basic deadfalls, your figure 4 vertical trigger, and your Paiute. I am about to set up a spring spike trap that is common in the Philippines, as well as several snare traps. So stay tuned, and I'll put another video up in a few minutes of the next 2 traps.